Hello everybody, welcome back into PYC. I'm Ethan Spazarski. This week's episode, we're going to talk about the MLB playoff race. Who's in, who's out, who's still in the hunt, and we'll talk about some postseason awards. Then for our mini segment, we're going back to the 5-on-5 segment where Wyatt Clatterball will take on the reigning champion Joey Chirillo on our top 5 questions. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with some college football, talk about some conference realignment and the new college football playoff bracket. But don't get anywhere. We're getting ready to start right now here on Plead Your Case.
Hey there, sports fans. You're watching another episode of Waynesburg University Community Television's only national sports debate show, Plead Your Case. Whether you're a diehard fan or a casual observer, get ready to join us every week as we dive deep into current pressing sports topics. Our panelists dissect every angle, every scenario, and every statistic to influence their fiery takes.
What has he done without Tom Brady?
And spirited arguments.
No, listen, Bowtie. Have you ever played Foursquare? No, you were too old to play Foursquare.
There will be no argument unexplored, and every take will be under review.
After reviewing the play,
here in the Waynesburg University Communication Department, we believe in heated debates with a touch of friendly competition, which is why we also have a fresh 5-and-5 mini segment that you won't want to miss.
I don't think a pitcher is breaking Cy Young's wins record of 511.
You Google America's team and what do you get? You get the...
So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious sports chat. It is time.
Hello everybody, welcome back into Plead Your Case. To my left, Tyler Aaron, Brett Gambita. Gentlemen, welcome to the panel this week. This week we got ourselves an exciting matchup here for MLB because we're inching closer and closer to the MLB postseason. Most exciting time for baseball of October. As we look at our bracket here, Twins, Astros, as of right now, Royals, Orioles set to face off in the wild card on the AL. For the NL, as of right now, the Mets and Brewers will face off and the Diamondbacks and Padres as well for the wild card. The winners of each will move on to the respective parts of the bracket and then those on and so forth. So also on the bottom, as you see there, are the teams in the hunt. For the AL, we have the Tigers, the Mariners, and the Red Sox. For the NL, you have the Braves and the Cubs. So my first question to you, I should say, who do you think is going to be the cemented into their wild card spot here for the playoffs?
Well, actually, the Baltimore Orioles are the number 1 wild card right now in the NL, but I have them falling to the number 3 spot. Just the way they've been playing lately, I don't see them being able to keep that number 1 spot. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games, including a loss to the worst team in baseball, the White Sox, getting swept by the Rays and losing 2 of 3 to the Red Sox and the Tigers. So while some fans out there might think they're the number 1, I think they're going to get passed up by the Royals and Twins for that 1 and 2 wild card spot in the AL.
so for my first AL wildcard team, I'm going to rebuke that and say the Orioles are going to stay in the first wildcard spot in the AL. I know they've been struggling, like you said, but it's the Orioles. It's hard to go against them. They've been playing at a high level all year, and especially last year, losing early on in the playoffs. I really think that they could go deep this year, which puts them in my ALCS stake. I know I'm jumping ahead of the curve here, but I really like the Orioles. I think they're due for a deep run.
All righty, very nice. I mean, as of right now, it looks pretty good. There's a lot of schedules that have some pretty tough series remaining in the rest of this regular season. I mean, for the Tigers, just for example, they're going to be facing off against the Orioles. They'll face off against the Rays. They'll face off against the White Sox. So one of the teams in the hunt already put at a disadvantage. To me, though, if the Orioles can stay healthy, I see themselves pushing as well. The biggest thing is stay healthy. But you also remember, the Royals team, this is a very good Royals team. And for an AL Central, for the first time, looking very revamped this year, as you have a lot of playoff contenders this year, which is something you usually don't see. It's something awesome to see. Everyone on that graphic, I think everyone on that graphic stays exactly where they are. I don't think there's any changes come the end of the year in 2 weeks. But moving on now, who do you have moving on into your divisionals and then into your championship series as well for your respective sides?
Well, for the ALCS, I actually have the Cleveland Guardians and New York Yankees, a 2016 rematch. I'm really high on the Guardians this year. I think they have a well-rounded team. And then for the Yankees, it's just been so long since they've made it there. I think they're finally due to get there, and I think they get over the hump. I'm pretty big on the big market teams this year, so we'll see what happens there.
For me, for my ALCS, Like I said, the Baltimore Orioles, I really think they're due for a deep run. I think they have enough of a core now and experience where they can push deep into the playoffs. And I have them playing the Cleveland Guardians. I'm very high on them this year. I actually have them winning all of the AL right now. So that's how high I am on the Guardians. They've been playing terrific all year long, and it's just hard for me to root against Cleveland right now.
I guess I'm just the hot take guy. I have Astros Royals as my ALCS. I don't know. Kansas City's really hot right now. They're finding their groove. They're facing off an Orioles team who's faced a lot of injuries and isn't playing their best baseball. For the Astros, let's be real. When it comes to playoff time, there's no one who plays better. Besides when they're cheating, there's no one who plays better than the Astros when it comes down to crunch time. And the fact they're in this conversation as a whole is crazy. They started out, what was their record? They were like doubled in losses compared to wins. They were nowhere in contention, and now they've completely turned their season around. They're looking here to a wild card start. So Astros Royals for me, I guess kind of a hot take. But for you guys, and you guys are talking about how high you are in the Guardians, maybe what's something specifically that sticks out to the Guardians that looks better than every other team they're going to face?
Well, they have an all-around 1 through 9 that can just get the job done. Stephen Kwan's been one of the hottest hitters of the year. David Fry, pretty solid behind the plate, and then starting pitching as well. I think they can go far. I have a lot of faith in them, and I think they get it done this year to ALCS.
Yeah, it's not to mention either Emmanuel Clase, closer for the Guardians. He has been electric all year. Easily the best closing pitcher in all of baseball, and currently a top candidate for the Cy Young as well. So, just that bullpen rotation that they have in Cleveland, it's really good.
And we didn't even mention Jose Ramirez either.
Yeah.
Best third baseman in baseball.
Yeah, he may be old, but he sure as heck playing out there, playing some of the best. There's no doubt about it there. But shifting to the NL side, let's talk about that. Your wild card matchups moving in to the championship series. Who maybe do you guys have moving on into that in the championship category?
Well, I have the top 2 teams in the NL. 2 teams that pretty much have the best chance, I guess, at hitting the 100 win mark this year. Phillies, Dodgers, 2 of the best teams in the NL. It's juggernaut on juggernaut. How could you not want to see an NLCS matchup like that? But I do have the Phillies taking over the Dodgers. As much as how good on paper the Dodgers are, I don't want to see them in the World Series.
Now, do you say that because you don't want to see them, or are you saying that because genuinely the Phillies could win?
I genuinely think the Phillies could win, but then I also don't want to see the Dodgers in. So I guess it's a little bit of both.
All right, so we got some bias on the table. That's very nice, Breckenbita.
What if I told you my NLCS winner isn't even in the current playoff bracket? What would you think?
I think you're absolutely bonkers and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Do you have the Braves?
It's the Atlanta Braves.
Of course
okay,
you do.
They're going to
There you
sneak
go.
in, and they're going to make a run, and they're going to take it to the World Series.
I didn't know this was
Hey,
the Joshua
I have
Klingon
them in-
Foundation up here on the table.
No.
I
Listen,
have them
listen.
in my last wild card spot, so I get it.
And if they get the Phillies again, the Phillies aren't beating them 3 years in a row in the playoffs.
It's hard to beat it's hard to beat a team, 2 times rather than 3 times. But if you want to be the one to, love the Braves, be my guest. I don't know. The Phillies always end up choking either way. In recent memory, they've always had a chance. They make it from the wild card all the way to the championship, and then next thing you know, they lose in the World Series, coming close. To me, the Dodgers are just due. There's no way you build a super team like this and not come away with some sort of championship, or at least to the NLCS. The Dodgers, Shohei he's working for a 50 for 50 here, for God's sakes. The team's built around it. You got Freddie, you got Mookie. You got Hernandez out there. You got different guys contributing. And doing this without Tyler Gosman, too. This is a big note. So, I'm big on the Dodgers. I have it moving on Phillies, Dodgers as well. But I do think the Dodgers take it all the way home. Everyone else in that bracket, while they do compete and show a lot of promise, you can't compete with the Dodgers. I feel like we've been saying that for so long, but it's kind of like the Chiefs and the Patriots in a sense. They've been building up some sort of foundation here for what they're trying to be like a dynasty. And they're making it work. Now they just need to get more rings on their fingers.
Your reasoning on why you like the Dodgers is the same reasoning on why I like the Yankees to the World Series this year. I think it's about time. It's about time.
Lack of consistency, my friend.
No.
Lack of consistency. Tyler, what were you saying?
The Yankees aren't making it to the World Series at all. They're probably not even going to make it to the ALCS.
Revisit this video when they make the World Series, guys.
Yeah,
You're gonna
absolutely you
want
can.
to. You're gonna
There's
want to.
no way the Yankees are going to go the whole way to the series. I don't see it. Don't see it happening
I do.
whatsoever. I think that there's multiple teams on paper who can play better than the Yankees right now.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to bring it back in. We're going to do a little bit of a rapid-fire test question here. I hope you came prepared. All right, NL. We'll start with the NL, work it back over to the AL. NL MVP, Brett.
Shohei Ohtani.
Tyler.
Shohei Ohtani.
Clean sweep across the board. NL Rookie of the Year. There's only one answer for this one, ladies and gentlemen.
Paul Skeens, come on.
Yeah, exactly. The man,
Again,
Mr.
clear
Mustache.
across the board. The mustache does it all for me. Moving on now. NL Cy Young.
I've got Zach Wheeler.
Chris Sale.
I'm with Chris Sale. I don't know what Brett was reading, but all right. AL awards. Moving on back to the MVP award. AL MVP.
Bobby Witt Jr.
Oh, my.
Listen, no.
He likes it because it sounds like a NASCAR
No.
racer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty.
He has a higher average, more hits, more singles, more doubles, more triples, more stolen bases, and less strikeouts than Aaron Judge. I know chicks dig the long ball. I know they do. The Tom Glavine commercial with Greg Maddux. I know chicks dig the long ball. I don't, though. Bobby Witt Jr. for AL MVP.
Right,
Yeah, how many home runs does Bobby Witt Jr. have?
It doesn't matter. He leads in every other major statistical category.
But what brings in the most runs?
Yeah, what's going to
What
bring in
brings
the most runs, though?
Who's more valuable to their team? You take Aaron Judge away, the Yankees are still a solid team. If you take Bobby Witt Jr. off the Royals, they amount to nothing.
I disagree.
Very fair argument there at the end by Brett, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's essentially a popularity contest. That's what a lot of this comes down to in some situations, and I'm going to say Aaron Judge fits that category. All right,
Judge.
AL Rookie of the Year,
Mason Miller.
Mason Miller, Waynesburg alumni.
You know,
Ace
Devin
closer.
Williams won it in 2020. A reliever can win the award. It happens.
Hey, I was thinking about putting down Mason Miller, but I decided not to. I put Colton Cowser.
Colton Cowser. Alrighty. Yeah, I went completely different. I went Luis Hill. I really think I kind of changed it up. First one, that's not unanimous off the board there. And AL Cy Young. Go ahead.
Tariq Skubal.
Yep, Tariq Skubal.
Tariq Skubal, three-way there. Awesome stuff. So, finally, Tyler kind of touched on it, and I wanted to touch on it as well. Is there any baseball team in this bracket or set right now that could finish with 100 wins this year? You kind of touched on it before. Let's see. Is anyone finishing with 100 wins this year? Because no one's there yet, and the closest is the Guardians, if I recollect correctly. Or who is the closest now?
I believe it's the
Philadelphia.
Phillies.
Phillies?
Yes.
There's only two teams that can even get to 100 wins right now. The Phillies would need to win 10 out of 12. Dodgers would need to win 11 out of 12. I see the Phillies being able to do it, though, with their strength of schedule remaining. They've got 2 in Milwaukee, 3 in New York, 3 in Chicago, and 3 at Washington. If they can just take 2 in Milwaukee and take 2 out of 3 in the Mets and Cubs series and then sweep the Nationals, that's 100 right there. I know it's easier said than done, but I think it could happen.
Tyler?
I don't think anyone's going to hit 100 wins, although I did write down in my notes, but if someone does, it'll be the Phillies. Dodgers, I don't think they will. Their schedule's too tough. But the Phillies would be the only one. But my answer is no.
My answer is also going to be no. Too much. You got to win too many games of such a little time. I'm not too much of a fan of it.
Yeah.
I agree there's a chance if everyone could do it, probably would be the Phillies, but I myself will go on the no bandwagon there. But that is going to conclude us for our MLB segment. But don't go anywhere. Our next upcoming segment, we're going to have our 5 and 5 mini segment with Joey Cirillo and Wyatt Clatterbaugh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to our mini segment. We're going to take a break from the main panel and turn to my left, and we see Wyatt Clatterbaugh and Joe Cirillo, the reigning 5-on-5 champion. Gentlemen, I hope you're ready. I hope you come prepared for your arguments because I come ready to pick some winners. So, first off, we did a rock, paper, scissors before we started recording, and Wyatt had won the toss, and he deferred to the second question. So, Joey Cirillo will answer this question first. And my first question to you is, should Tua Tagovailoa retire from the NFL? You have 30 seconds.
No. Tua is still a young potential quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of different things we haven't seen from him. Concussions are different for everyone. Concussions can have severe symptoms and cannot have severe symptoms, but it's different for everybody. So clearly we've seen different symptoms for Tua in the past. I think He needs to, talk with his health professionals, see what's best for him. Dolphins can make a better O-line for him, hopefully not getting those different injuries to him, and we'll see where it goes.
Thank you very much. John Wyatt, there we go. There's your name. Go ahead, your turn.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to agree with Shirillo on this one. He just signed a 4-year, $212.4 million contract extension this offseason with the Dolphins. The Dolphins would have to pay him off for the rest of this year up until 2028. It's just not worth it. Like Shirillo said, he's a young guy. He's very young, just in the prime of his career. So I don't really see a reason why he should retire at this point in his career.
All righty, thank you very much. Gentlemen, on to our next question. Who is the best kicker in the NFL right now? Why? Go ahead.
Well, you're probably not going to like this one because it is in your guys' division, but I'm going to go Evan McPherson from the Bengals. He kicked Joe Burrow and the Bengals to a Super Bowl in 2021. He has an 84.7 all-time field goal percentage. He has made 79 of 94 of his kicks, and he is tied with Adam Vinatieri for the most field goals made in the postseason with 14. And his longest kick is 59 yards. I know you guys think it's crazy. He's very underrated in my opinion, so that's who I'm going with.
Joey, go ahead.
I don't even know if I have words for that. I'm going in the division as well. Chris Boswell, especially right now, there's no question about it. He's 8 for 8 in field goals. He's 100%. And you can't argue with that. He has 25 points. Of course, that's leading the Steelers. They've only gotten 1 touchdown, but you can't argue what the stats are saying here. He has an 87.5 field goal percentage for his entire career, and he has the highest all-time leading percentage in outside of the 50 field goal range, and he's at 82%, and it's only going up from there. So you can't really argue.
That is enough out of you. Very good job, guys. Moving on to our third question. Tom Brady has recently entered the announcing booth. Now, my question to you guys is he's being paid by Fox $37.5 million. Is that too much? Not enough? Right in the middle? What are we thinking here? Joey, go first.
I do not think it's too much. I mean, he's the greatest quarterback to ever play this game, and he has so much extensive knowledge of the game of football that we all love, and you're asking him just 2 years after he's retired to come back into the booth and to spend all of his time left with football. That's too much to ask for a guy that gave us pretty much everything we've seen throughout our existence. So asking him to come back, you definitely have to give him the money for it, and you definitely have to say, hey, we're going to give you your flowers here. And we've only seen 2 games. All right,
that is enough out of you. Mr. Wyatt Clatterball, go ahead. Your turn.
So, Joey, unfortunately, I'm going to disagree with you. I think he's getting overpaid. The dude this is his first time in the broadcast booth. I think it's absurd that he's getting paid $37.5 million. If Jim Nantz, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Troy Aikman, and Joe Buck, all the OGs who have been doing this for years, aren't getting paid that money, then what? I don't understand why Tom Brady gets the special treatment. Maybe it's just because of the person he is. I know Shirillo said it was also because he is one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. But I just don't agree. All right,
that is enough out of you as well. Gentlemen, continuing to move on here. Is George Pickens, and this one's straight from the producer himself, is George Pickens a top 5 receiver in the NFL right now? Wyatt, go ahead.
Sorry, Logan Arblaster. I'm going to say no. He has only had one 1,000-yard season in his 3-year career. He has 9 total touchdowns. He is a decent runner. He's a great deep ball receiver, as we know. Can catch in double coverage great. Not a great yak receiver. So I think right now he's not there. Could he make it there? Yes. But as of right now, he is not a top 5 receiver. I'd put him maybe in the top 15, maybe even top 10. But he is definitely not top 5 in my opinion.
That was actually really good. I heard a 1 and you cut off. That was great. Joey, go ahead. Your turn.
I think the question needs to be worded differently. Is he a top 5 receiver in the league? No, not by any means. Is he a top 5 talented receiver? He has so much potential. Of course he is. He's in that top 10. So if you're asking me if he's a top 5 receiver, I'm going to say no. But he has the talent to do so. He needs a better quarterback in that area. We're unsure. Is it Russell Wilson? Is it Justin Fields? I'm waiting for an answer. I know a lot of people are. And an O-line that can be at least a little bit more to holding that pocket for a quarterback to throw it up to him to give that 50, 60-yard
You are done. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Moving on to our final question, gentlemen. Number 5, who is the better running quarterback? Prime Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson?
I'm going to be staying in the AFC North here. Going with Lamar Jackson without a doubt. He already has 2 MVPs for what he's been doing in the league, running and passing. A lot of people say he's a running back. He's not. He is a quarterback. He's been able to run and also pass for this Baltimore team. They've really built it around him. Unlike in Atlanta with Michael Vick, they didn't build around Michael Vick. Lamar, they did, and it's showing off. Lamar is only halfway through his career, and there is a lot left to see in Lamar Jackson. And
All
he's
right,
already
that is
beaten Vick.
enough out of you. Thank you, Joey. Finishing off here, go ahead, Wyatt.
I'm going to disagree with you, Joey. Who paved the way for Lamar Jackson? It was Michael Vick. Michael Vick, for his time and his generation of football, no one had ever seen a running quarterback. No one had ever seen a guy who could use his legs to get out of the pocket, make plays. He also had a really strong arm, and he was lefty, so that was also something unique. But Michael Vick is the person that created the running quarterback that was paved the way for Lamar Jackson's and for the Josh Allens of the game. So I think Michael Vick is better than Lamar Jackson in his prime.
Nope, you're wrong.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I have a decision. With the final score of 3-2, and it was 3-2, I have chosen the reigning champion, Joey Cirillo, to win this one. Joey, congratulations. Wyatt, great job. Great arguments from both of you guys.
All around.
You both had a bunch of malarkey in there, but also a lot of really good points.
Whoa.
As a host, I'm proud. But moving on now to our final segment, we're going to shift it back over to football and stick with some college football when we come back.
Library, where you can find out everything about anything on campus. Through the double doors, you'll enter a world of knowledge and academic resources. These include the Knox Learning Center, where the Disability Services Office and testing centers are located, and the Writing Center, where students can work directly with our tutors in order to hone their essay skills and get easy A's. And now, to the print collection, which houses over 75,000 books spanning across all 3 of our floors. And if you're looking for truly a peaceful place to read, we also have the Stover Center for Constitutional Studies, with various nooks and crannies for students to hide away in with a good book. And if you need us to print out something for your next class, head on to the 3rd floor at the Eberly Library.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to now stick with the football theme and start talking about the college realignments and the college football new bracket. But first, back to the realignments. We're going to take a look real quick now at our graphics of what the old PAC, or the Pac-12, used to look like. See Washington State, Washington, UCLA, and everybody. Well, now, there they are in their new teams. You got Cal, Stanford, and SMU in the ACC. The Big Ten has Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington. Big 12 added Utah and Colorado. And then the SEC took in Texas and Oklahoma. Those with the asterisks, which are Texas, Oklahoma, and SMU, transferred not from the Pac-12. So, gentlemen, I say to you with that, what are your thoughts on the realignments? Do you like them? Is there anything that makes you worried? Is the Big Ten now maybe too overpowered? What are just your first original thoughts?
I think the SEC is pretty overpowered now, getting Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, you already have teams like Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss in that division. I think it's going to be a very competitive division this year. I mean, you could say the same for Big Ten, but I don't know. I just feel like the SEC is probably the most top-heavy conference in all of college football this year.
Respectfully, I disagree. I like the change because it's just going to up the competition level and bring these more rivalry-type matchups, as I like to call it, especially within the SEC and the Big Ten as well, because now we can see games like Oregon, Ohio State. Remember that not too long ago? Oregon upset at Ohio State. We're going to see more matchups like that. And, having Texas coming in playing teams like Georgia, Alabama stuff, it's going to be more fun as a college football fan to watch these games.
Well, the Pac-12 is now kind of getting back into action as they're going to be adding a few other teams to their resume as well, including, you have Fresno State. You have a bunch of teams from the Mountain West Conference. So maybe, guys, what do you think of that? Because this whole realignment kind of started with the Pac-12 kind of dissolving and Oregon State and Washington State being the only two currently in the Pac-12. But how do you kind of feel about the Pac-12 kind of getting a kickstart back up with some new teams from Mountain West?
Well, first, I think they should rename it the Six-Pack because they're going to have 6 teams next year. And, I mean, you get the joke. But Boise State, San Diego State, Colorado State, Fresno State joining the 2 teams that already exist there. I don't know. It's going to be weird to see a 6-team conference but I know there are thoughts on adding a couple other teams as well, possibly more Mountain West teams, who knows. Other teams talked about as well, UNLV, Air Force, so those would all make sense geographically, but I'm glad that the Pac-12 is still trying to fight and stay alive when all their teams are being stolen.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm glad that the Pac-12 is slowly getting rebuilt back up. I love it should be the Pac-6 next year because, come on, the only Pac-12 there should be is the President's Athletic Conference starting next year. Because
There's only 11 teams in that, though. That's the funny part.
I know. Well, next year there'll be 12, though. That's what I'm saying. For the President's Athletic Conference with Tyrone coming in, that's 12. So the Pac-12 should be.
Isn't Carnegie Mellon or Case Western leaving?
Yeah, Carnegie
football.
Mellon is, but they're only a part-time member. They're not a full-time member.
All right, technicalities on the
technicalities.
show. Technicalities on the
Yeah.
show. Can't get it wrong here,
Uh-huh.
but we kind of touched on the conference realignment. Now let's talk winners. Who's going to actually win and make an impact? We'll go down the list from the top. Ladies and gentlemen, for example for you, for the new playoff realignment, the top 4 seeds are the conference winners: ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, SEC. Then seeds 5 through 12 will remain the best other teams that were seeded 5 through 12. So we'll start with our top 4 winners for our conference. We'll start with the ACC. Tyler, who do you see winning the ACC this year?
Miami. Just straight up Miami. I think they are the strongest team in all the ACC. I guess a team like Clemson can probably make an argument for that, but I love Miami's team all around.
Brett?
It's all about the U.
Yeah.
It's all about the U. Clemson doesn't have it this year. Neither does FSU. Florida State's been god-awful this year. Clemson hasn't really produced in late years with Dabo Swinney at the head, so give me the U.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Cam Ward already has over 1,000 passing yards this year. He looks really good. 11 touchdowns, 1 pick. A dominant start to his U career against Florida. I mean, right now, Miami, looks the best right now. I could completely agree with you guys. I think you also have to kind of maybe throw in, if you want to talk other teams, Georgia Tech, Boston College. But, I mean, there's a plenty to talk about. Clemson's still a contender too, but I think at the end of the day, the U gets it done.
You could even sprinkle Pitt's name in there if you wanted to.
Let's not go that far.
As an avid Pitt fan myself, I will not do that. I will keep myself in bounds here. 3-0, beat West Virginia, which is nice. Don't play enough top-tier D1 players or teams, to be considered that. But I appreciate the compliment
Just
from
food
you,
for
Brett.
thought.
But moving on to the Big Ten. The Big Ten, a lot of competition this year. Brett, who's winning?
I've got Ohio State. Michigan hasn't looked great this year, and it seems like Penn State's always going to drop 1 or 2 games a year to opponents that are better than them. With all the new teams joining as well, though, I don't think they have the capabilities to take down the Buckeyes, so give me Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree. Ohio State, as regretful as it is to say it, as an avid Penn State and Indy Lions fan, Ohio State.
No, forget Penn State. I'm glad they're losing. I mean,
Oh, come on.
let's take a look here. I did pick Ohio State as well. I mean, just look at it. Ohio State plays Marshall here coming up next week. They play against Michigan State the following. Then they go into a little bit of tougher competition against Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska. Then they'll face off against the real rivals of Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, then the Michigan game. But Ohio State looks great. Now moving on to the Big Ten, where where I personally at least think, where a lot of the competition has really gained in popularity. Who do we think is coming out of the Big Ten as the champions?
Well, despite some of the new teams joining, I think it's going to be one of the original Big Ten teams. I'm taking the Ohio State Buckeyes. Michigan hasn't looked great this year, and Penn State, who's always up there as well, seems to drop 1 or 2 games a year to those tough opponents. So give me the Ohio State Buckeyes.
With regret, as an avid Penn State and Indy Lions fan, Ohio State is who I got for the Big Ten. Regretfully, but
There's no regret in that. Take it with a smile on your face. Flowers are blooming. Sun is shining.
You're crazy.
No, but I completely agree with you guys. Ohio State is exactly where they need to be right now. Their running back room has completely gone up with Judkins joining in with Henderson. I think Ohio State's really moving in the right direction. And this is a make or break for Ryan Day. Really, it is. I mean, if he doesn't bring home a championship or something here, they're not doing anything. And I can guarantee he's probably without a job. So Ohio State, their schedule looks pretty weak in the beginning, finished pretty strong. But if they're moving in that right direction, I don't think you're beating a hot Ohio State team right now. I'll take them to win the Big Ten. Now shifting over to the other big conference, the Big 12. Gentlemen, who do we have in the Big 12?
Kansas State.
It seems wide open this year. I'm going to also say Kansas State. Just with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, it's really going to make for a new winner, I think. And I think Cameron Rising and Utah don't have what it takes. I think Kansas State's got it.
I'm completely agree with you guys. I'm in with the Wildcats here. I think they're really doing the right thing, pushing the right buttons, kind of finding their way down. But continue to move on. Arguably the biggest one yet, the biggest conference to talk about, the SEC. Who's winning?
Georgia.
Go Dogs.
Yep. Sick one.
In the words of Pat McAfee, give me Alabama. I'm taking Alabama to win this thing. I really do believe it. I mean, Peter DeBoer, Jalen Milroe, they're finding their way this year. Granted, I understand they haven't really been playing a lot of top competition right now, but they're moving along. I mean, Georgia's almost lost to Kentucky. They won, but wasn't convincing enough to me. Texas looks good, but they haven't been in this experience a lot. I'm going to take Alabama. They got a lot of experience on that end. First year without Saban, I know, is hard, but I'm with it. I'm completely with it. I like what Peter DeBoer is doing. Now, we're going to go through 5 through 12, but to make sure we do this in a timely fashion, you can just list 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for your picks, and then we'll do a quick little bracket. So, Brett, go ahead first.
All right, number 5, I've got Texas. Number 6, I've got Alabama. Number 7, I've got Ole Miss. Number 8, I've got Penn State. Number 9, I've got Missouri. Number 10, Nebraska. Number 11, Tennessee. And number 12, Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois.
My fifth.
They beat
There's
Notre
no
Dame one
way.
time. We're just going to give them the keys to the kingdom here. Go ahead.
Just because they beat Notre Dame doesn't mean that they're going to win the rest of their games. All right, so for mine, 5 is Texas, 6 is Alabama, 7 I have Tennessee, 8 Ole Miss, 9 Oregon, 10 Missouri, 11 Penn State, and 12 Boise State.
Very good. I'm going to keep it along the train here. We're going to keep it. I have Texas 5 as well. I got Georgia 6, Ole Miss 7, Tennessee 8, Oregon 9, Penn State 10, LSU 11, and Oklahoma 12. I really do believe these big schools are going to come out to dominate. And I had Missouri. I was thinking about putting them in at 12, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of shifting going on. The later we get, the more top-tier competition you're set to face. And I just don't think a smaller-ish D1 school like that's going to be able to compete. But moving on quickly here, we have our 12-team bracket, but where the 5 will face the 12, 6, 11, and so forth down the list for your numbers. But, gentlemen, who do you have in as your final 4 for this year?
All right, I'll start. So number 5, Texas against number 1, Georgia, and number 2, Ohio State against number 6, Alabama.
I've got number 5, Texas versus number 1, Georgia, and number 6, Bama against number 2, Ohio State.
I love it.
I completely agree with you, Brett. I completely agree with you in that category. I really do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I also didn't really fill out the bracket, so I can't really completely answer that with honesty, but I kind of like Brett's a lot.
It's a shame to have 3 SEC teams in there, but that's just the reality.
Yeah.
No, it is. I mean, the SEC is they're a dominant powerhouse school, and that's or conference, excuse me. So I really don't think you can really compete with that. I mean, at the end of the day, if the SEC was to win this, I wouldn't be shocked. They always seem to have somebody coming out there. But now, we talked about Final Four real quick. Who do you have as your champion? I know we're a bit early on here, but who has your champion here finishing out?
Horns up. Horns.
Okay.
Horns up.
What'd you do? Horns up?
Yeah, well, okay, save it. Horns up. Texas over Ohio State. National champion.
Horns up.
Well, even after their 13-12 victory over Kentucky this past weekend, I've still got faith in those Georgia Bulldogs, and they're my national championship pick.
Alrighty. Very nice. Again, I didn't completely fill out the bracket, so I don't feel like I should be fair for me to give an complete answer. But those are pretty good answers, and I hope you all were satisfied there with our talk of college football. And that is going to wrap up here our final segment of the day for Plead Your Case. For Tyler Aaron, for Brett Gambita, for Joey Cirillo, Wyatt Cloudbar, our producer, Logan Arblaster, I'm Ethan Spazarski saying so long. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good day.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.